Déjà, il y avait beaucoup de boulot pour les ouvriers. Ils n'étaient pas beaucoup payés, mais il y avait beaucoup de boulot. Maintenant, ils sont mieux payés, les ouvriers. Et c'est fini, il n'y a plus de boulot. Et circuler, il n'y a rien à voir. Rien.
You are about to enter a world of imagination. A world where battles are fought and won on grids and on hex maps. Either in person or virtually. A place where any obstacle can be bested with a little ingenuity and a lot of luck. From power gamers to problem solvers, role players to combat junkies, we are all welcome here. We recognize that the game has come from a long, long time ago, but we respect the past. And we look forward where we can take it together. So with dice in hand and a soul longing for adventure, I welcome you to come along with me as we traverse through this polyhedral paradise. Good evening. Welcome everybody to Polyhedral Paradise. I am Jason. It is good to have you here. Tonight we've got Burke the Nerd with us. Burke runs a channel over on Twitch. He's a good friend of ours, and we are going to have a nice conversation with him as we go over a bunch of different things. Later on, we are also going to talk to you out there through our Discord. If a moderator could put a link in the Discord chat, that'll be great. If not, I will put it in there as soon as possible, but don't worry, we'll have plenty of time for that. So, as we get going like we like to do here, for those who are new, let me say hi to everybody in chat, because looks like we got a bunch of new people here. Everyday Geeks, what's up? Parks Outdoors, good evening. Matt Christensen, nice to see you. Waffle Duck 225, hello. Burke the Nerd, of course. Mark D, let's see. Mark D, nice to see you. If anybody hasn't subscribed, you're more than welcome to. If you don't want to, then don't do it. But it's good to see everybody here. I'm really super excited. So, what I'd like to do, Mark D, I'm the Panda Man. I'm the Panda Man now. Look at me. We're going to be bringing Burke in a couple minutes, but we just want to get a few channel things out of the way. So what we like to do here, leading off, we like to have what I like to call a Ravenloft Minute. For anybody who doesn't know, I am extremely addicted to the Dungeons & Dragons setting, Ravenloft. This right here is one of my recent acquisitions. It's from 2nd edition AD&D. It came out in 1995. I know, I'll get to it. Came out in 1995. It's called The Evil Eye. So, to set the mood here tonight, we're going to have a reading. I'm going to turn the music down a little bit here. He may be the Panda Man, but I am the Doc. You have just given away who Waffle Duck is. I know who you are now. So here's the intro from the module, The Evil Eye. In the shadowy seclusion of her boudoir, Gabrielle Adair drew a veil across her face and inhaled the heavy perfume cast by stunted candles on the table before her. Reaching down, she pulled open a small hidden drawer and withdrew a worn wooden box. Reflexively, her left hand formed a sign to ward off evil, while her right opened the box and took out a faded deck of cards, placing it on the table. Her hand briefly visited the jade neck, invoking their magic to shield her from the dark, invisible powers that moved around the domains, unhindered and unseen. With the smallest finger of her right hand shaking ever so slightly, Gabrielle touched the Jrotc deck and whispered her son's name. Munchie. Fighting an urge to look at the first card, she placed it face down on the table. Slowly, ever so slowly, with the calm dread that preceded every reading, Gabrielle shuffled the remaining Jrotc cards, sensing the flow of time and place as the painted cards danced with their neighbors. She stared into the yellow flame of the candle. Life is a web, her mother Isabel once told her. Pull the right thread and you can see the center. Pull the wrong string and you will be trapped and devoured. For the web is not yours. It belongs to the spider. A shuffled deck stood waiting on the table. Gabrielle dealt 4 cards face down around the focus to form a minor cross, the simplest pattern for the most straightforward of answers. Clearing her mind, Gabrielle turned over the focus and stared at it. The beast. Alarmed, but not surprised, she flipped over the card to the left, representing the past, the ghost. Below, in the position of opposition, Gabrielle's fingers crossed the 3 of Swords, the soldier representing warfare and conflict. Above, pivot of alliances, Gabrielle overturned the 7 of Coins, the thief, symbolic of acquisition. Finally, she barely paused over the card to the right, the point of the rising sun, the path to her son's future, the mists. Gabrielle braced herself for the pain that would come, but with a slight binding over her eyes, she was still unprepared for the intensity. Shifting, a scream, the witch fell to the stone floor, her chair clattering beside her. Only a full-blooded Vistani may invoke the past powerful Jrotc with impunity, and Gabrielle Adair was only part Vistani. She thrashed uncontrollably on the floor, while the vision of her son ran its course, and in the soft shadows of her boudoir, the small child laughed. That is the opening to the module, The Evil Eye, from the Ravenloft setting. That just sets the scene for a module that takes place in the Ravenloft setting. It's a land called, Individa. So filled with witches, and in case you didn't notice, that was basically a reading of a gypsy reading her son's future and past. So, XR, good to see you. What I missed? We just read from the module Evil Eye. So, we're going to bring Burke on in a second here, but I want to get a couple of channel things out of the way first. Coming up this January 8th, we're going to be doing a 24-hour live stream. That's right, we're going to be playing D&D for 24 straight hours to benefit charity. The charity that we're benefiting is an organization called Take This. They help out with mental health in the gaming community. So for more information on that, visit our Discord. There's plenty of links in there. We're still looking for some players if you guys want to play. And yeah, so that's going to be an awful lot of fun. It's going to be pretty challenging. We're going to break it down into 3 groups. So there's going to be Group A, Group B, and Group C. There's rotating times. We're going to start at 9 o'clock p.m. on the 8th and go through 9 p.m. on the 9th. So you guys are welcome to come, hang out, watch. If you can donate to Take This, that'd be great. If you just want to watch, that's great too. If you want to participate, the more the merrier. We still have plenty of slots available. After that, the Wednesday after that, we're going to be premiering a new show called Beat Bobby Slay. It's going to be our very own PvP competition where we're going to take 2 players. They're going to battle a 3-round combat and then move on to beat the battle chef himself, Bobby Slay. The winner leaves with a bunch of loot for his character. The loser tears up their character sheet. It's going to be a great chance for anybody who loves to build characters, who doesn't get a chance to play them in games. Build your characters, come battle with them, and see how you stack up against your fellow D&D players. It's a little bit different than regular D&D, but it's going to be fun, it's going to be interactive, and it is going to be a blast. So that is going to start Wednesday after the 24-hour stream. Wells, good evening. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Everybody, welcome to the chat. Wu-Tang Wells, my executive producer, and the rock upon which this polyhedral paradise is built. So, with that, we're going to bring on the one, the only, Burke the Nerd. Burke, how you doing this evening, buddy?
Good, man. I'm a little tired, which I don't know. That's not a good sign already, but for some other things to come. But seriously, super happy to have that you have me on here. I'm really excited to get to talk some RPG stuff with you, man.
Most definitely. I appreciate you coming on. I know it was sort of short notice, and I know you got a lot going on, but I really appreciate you coming out tonight, bud.
Hey, never miss a chance.
Well, hopefully there'll be plenty more. So I know a lot of people out there know you, and we'll just do some light introductions before we go. Real heavy, but for anybody who doesn't know you, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are and your channel, that sort of thing.
Yep. So I'm Burke. I go by Burke the Nerd over on Twitch. I do drop my stuff on YouTube afterward. I'm starting to make some videos, but mostly over on Twitch. I stream 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, typically in the evenings, like 6 to 8 o'clock. Other than that, I am just a major nerd. I talk about Marvel, DC, Star Wars, movie news, anime, video games, all that stuff. And we're just a good community. I think obviously Jason's a big part of it, and a lot of you in the chat already know me. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm just a big nerd that likes to talk and make friends, and that's how I kind of ended up here.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the one thing, and we'll get into it a little bit later. But this nerd community is huge, it's vast, and it gives everybody a lot of chance to interact and sort of niche down. And I know I really enjoy a lot of things you do with the Burke Tactics 4, with your battle brackets, and it seems like everybody funnels down into particular niches, and with Discord and everything, it's great that everybody can hang out and really get close. So it's been a lot of fun getting to know everybody. So before we get into too much, I was thinking, while I've got you here, you're a fan of D&D, right?
I sure am.
Okay.
Yep.
So my I have to answer my EP. So that sound you hear is fireplace crackling. I've got the fireplace roaring in the background. I'm trying out. Oh, I guess it's a good chance to mention it. The stream is affiliated with Sirenscape. Sirenscape is a fantasy music background wonder tool. So as long as I mention them in the stream, I'm allowed to use it on the stream. So and not have to pay them anything. Yeah, but. Yeah,
that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. They have it's great stuff for gaming, for streaming, lots of sound effects, and I had planned on spending time in the fireplace, plan on spending time in the library, which is why I had the fireplace sound going. But let me kill some of the fireplace noise there. So earlier this week, one of my good friends, Gray, sent me with the new Wilderness kit. No, this is water. If Mark, if you're asking me, no, buddy, this is straight water.
Oh, you like to drink water straight?
What's that?
You drink water straight. That's pretty impressive.
I am hardcore. I'm hardcore. I drink water straight out of a metal straw.
Dang,
oh, you meant
dude.
Burke. Oh, okay.
Yep. Water straight out of a sippy cup. You know?
Nice.
That's how I roll.
Burke, I can customize that sippy cup for you, but we'll talk about that later. As you know, like the when you play D&D, dungeon masters like to sit behind a screen. So they released a new screen, and I'm going to go to another screen here. They released a screen that's specifically for the wilderness. It was a wilderness kit. Now let's go over and take a look at that. Okay, so who's seen this before? This is my secondary camera. Pay no attention to the mess on the desk. Yes, that is a Kingdom Hearts mousepad there. So this, everybody see that okay? This is the Dungeon Master screen wilderness kit. Burke, can you see that okay, buddy?
I sure can.
All
Yep.
right. So let's take a look, open it up here. So this right here is the actual screen. Now we're going to come back to this because this is going to fold out. Okay, messy boy. You should see my room, Mark. You should see my room. All right, so let's start here. So this page here. This is the Wilderness Journey sheet. This sheet provides guidelines for playing through wilderness travel and for keeping track of supplies during the journey. So right here, you've got, you see where it says, oh, I'm not even looking at my screen. Journey cycles. The journey takes place in cycles that each represent the days spent traveling in the wilderness. The DM first decides whether the journey is short or long, depending on how long it will take the characters to reach a destination. The length of the journey determines how many days are represented in the cycle, blah, 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 blah. So you have, you've got weather, pace, navigate, encounter, supplies, progress. There's rules on becoming lost, and for anybody who has ever seen any of my streams, everybody knows I love my tables, my encounter tables.
Mm-hmm.
Burke, when you're playing, did you ever rely on tables much, or did you sort of make up anything off the top of your head?
No, so back in the day, I was primarily the homebrew king. So I didn't rely on a whole lot of anything. Other than, I mean, I kind of made my own stuff, a lot of my own stuff. So
that's good.
But when I started using some 5e, the tables I found super fun, especially when you get into like the stuff beyond the DM's guide and stuff like that. When you get into more like obscure stuff, I get really excited. Yeah.
I love tables, but I hardly ever roll on them. I just sort of use them as like crib sheets. You know, give me ideas and options of what's there. So yeah, there's ideas for random wilderness encounters. I don't know if everybody can see that. Hostile creatures, groups of wanderers. Let's take a look, flip it over on the backside. This is where I thought it got interesting. So you've got here monuments. So sometimes, I like this because you can run out of, like, the wilderness is a vast place. You can run out of ideas. So right here you've got a D20 that have all different kinds of monuments that you can just plop down somewhere in the wilderness. You've got it all right here. You've got sealed burial mounds or pyramid, plundered burial mounds or pyramids, faces carved in the mountains. Like, you could run into Mount Rushmore out there in the wilderness, and I wouldn't think to put Washington out there just chilling somewhere.
I might now.
You know what? Now, thanks to this, I would. Ruined or
can I make a comment real quick on this?
Yeah, sure.
So I love this whole concept, because for me as a DM, one of the biggest issues that I have had is making travel between a long distance that would normally be like think of it like Lord of the Rings, the movie style, where it's like, oh, you just see a quick montage from there, but you got the gist from the visual cues that you traveled so far. But as a DM, sometimes, like, I want to stress that they've been traveling weeks, but like, how do you make a person feel that? Because you don't want to just like play out every day in the woods and walking through and not encountering anything, but you also want them to feel like they traveled that distance. And this is amazing because this captures how to do that, and I love that. Right,
this captures the essence of that travel without having to feel the weight of it at the table, where you're playing out every single day, and that can become really arduous when you want to make travel interesting, because it's the third pillar of the game. So you have, you've got exploration, you've got combat, and you have role playing. And a lot of times the third pillar of the game gets overlooked, but this is a good way to quickly make that third pillar have the weight it deserves without that weight becoming an anchor.
Right.
So yeah, and then that's there's weird locations, food and water needs. I'm gonna fast forward. So it even has quick tips for the food and water needs that you have for your parties. Wilderness chases. So here's something interesting. So we think of encounters in the wilderness, but we don't think of how that plays out on the long game. But here are rules for establishing position, rolling for initiative, rolling for complications like falling off a cliff, or let's see, look at complication. When your turn starts, you roll a d20 and consult the wilderness chase complications table to see what unexpected event complicates your turn. So let's take a.
So you could make this. Is this basically saying like this is an example also for like? Could it do long form chases? Like, you're traveling for weeks, but you're being hunted by somebody. Would this fit in that? In describing how that would work out, or is that more? I guess that might be more of a narrative thing.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, yeah, but they could fit into that larger narrative. So uneven ground threatens to slow your progress. So if it's long enough, these could be cumulative.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to run an encounter where the entire purpose is not to get caught by something. Like, that the people catching you will easily defeat you, like whether it be like an army or a band of hunters that are just extremely powerful. You could make an encounter out of this that's literally like, hey, you got to travel across these wilderness for like 2 weeks. This is your guideline to how to make that chase interesting, even though reality you're never encountering. Well, theoretically, by winning, you would never encounter those enemies. It'd be cool to see something that played out like that. By the way, Mark, I was trying to talk to you earlier, but in Chinese, and I learned more and more how buha shui sheng I was.
How about now?
And I know that's not even that's broken Chinese too, so I'm sorry.
All right, I think I fixed it. I accidentally stepped on my cord here. So, but yeah. Oops. Okay. All right, I'm back, guys. Sorry about that. All right, so. And then, also in here, Burke, can you see, they actually have dry erase hex maps.
Oh, I love it. I have one of those big ones. The big roller ones. Mm-hmm. It's like...
like the table size one?
Oh, yeah. I have one.
Oh,
I've had so much fun. I actually made my own board game for that, for that grid.
Oh, man. I keep showing way too much of my desk. That's what happens when mic stands start falling.
I feel that, man. If you stand outside of my field of vision on any of my streams, it gets bad sometimes.
I know.
Like, I have a whole section of my L desk right here, and sometimes it's just a ton of dirty dishes, and then it's just out of view, and it's like I'm like there, and I panic, and then I'm like, oh wait, no one can see it, and
the wheels are really coming off this mic stand here. Yeah, like most of the time, it's like a house of cards around here, where things are just piled up on top of the desk, and yeah.
Are you cool if I say a quick tangent thing while I'm looking at that hex?
Yeah, go ahead. Tangent it up while I adjust this mic stand, Burke. You got it.
So Cap, what's up, man? Okay, so fun fact, when I got that hex, that big long grid map, right, the dry erase, it had two sides. It has just the checks, like the grid, and then it has the hexagon grid. Mm-hmm. And I looked at the hexagon grid, and I decided, wouldn't it be really cool if you could make this like game where there's multiple countries, and you can have like big countries, and then you'll have like little nations that are like kind of their own thing, and you like do manage crop yields, and you do trade and make alliances and do like war. And I started writing out all these rules. I love making games almost as much as I love playing them, probably more, which is why D&D draws me so much. And I'm writing out this game, and I stopped it for a while, took a break. And then later I was talking to someone about it, and he's like, dude, it's called Civ 5, and it literally exists, and you can play it right now. And I was like, what is this game?
Civilization 5?
Yeah, have you ever played that?
I've played Civilization.
Yeah, and I'm like, I was basically creating Civ without knowing what Civ was, but I was going to create it on a board game, and then they're like, and then he explained it's on a computer, and it runs on, like, that's a lot easier than me doing a bunch of math and every player having to have like a freaking abacus or something like that in front of them.
It's a lot easier, but think about the charm of doing that on a tabletop.
That would be charming.
Like going back to the old days when we would, and I know you've played it because we talked about it before, like Access and Allies, and like those games that you spread out on a table and took hours and hours to play, and they were so in depth.
Yes.
This is the other one. There was Access and Allies, then
Risk and
the Roman Empire game. Oh my goodness, can't remember what it was. But yeah,
I can't remember.
I know. Yeah, I mean, nothing's falling apart over here. No big deal.
When we get on those board game and whatever tangents, I made another game I'm interested that I feel like was really that no one would ever. I never had anyone with the intention span to sit down and play it, and I was like, that was the issue.
Hold that, because I love creating games.
We'll talk
and I
about
love,
it later.
yeah, no, we'll definitely get there. But just this is a supply tracker, so it's literally like a check sheet where you have your food used and carried. It's a good way for the DM to keep track of the party's food, so they know that they can't. You're not cheating. You're not getting cheated by your people. This is for what I like to call hardcore mode. Most of the time, I don't know about you, but most of the time during games, I'm like, did you buy food? Do you have water? Then I start hand waving a lot of that stuff. I'm like, yeah.
Do you remember one time the Burktastic 4 ate? I don't.
I don't remember one time we ate. Oh my goodness. So let's see. So that's, and then water use. So, all right, let's see. This is the second to last one. It's another hex map, and then on the back here, actions in combat. Now this is a retread from just the player's handbook. The different actions you have: attack, cast a spell, dash, disengage, dodge. Anybody familiar with D&D knows these actions already, but they reprinted them for just a quick reference on here.
Yeah, it's good to have a guide.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, this is really nice. This is more involved than your normal DM screen, but even Well says, even in survival video games, spending time eating and drinking snacks sucks. It does.
Yes, agreed. Arc survival.
I think in those games, anything that your characters would normally do, you should just sort of hand wave. Like, did you remember to pee today?
Do you think there are fun ways to do that?
Sure.
I feel like there could be fun ways to like make that challenge while also like not making it just, oh, you got to eat and stuff like that, you know?
Well, I think it depends on what type of game you sign up for. And a lot of that happens in Session 0. Like, if you're signing up for that type of hardcore game, I think it could be fun. But I think as a DM, you have to find a way to make it more interesting, like you said, than just being like, oh, you got to eat. You know? Set yourself up in an area where the chase is part of the fun, where hunting for your food is part of not part of combat, but really role play that out. Like, role play the tracking, role play the hunting.
Right.
Like, you come across like 6 different types of berries or 6 different type, and you got to decide which ones are poisonous, which ones aren't.
Yep.
I
like that.
How long, play a halfling, eating is the adventure. Yes, Lisa, correct. Eating is the adventure. I enjoy the tavern in a game. Now, tavern's a little bit different. Like, that is a monster in its own right.
It really is.
So this one's just, so if you take a look at all these hex maps, really, if you were playing in person, you could dry erase these, put these all together, and have one decent sized map. You know?
Yeah, you really could. Wow, yeah.
And then everything's labeled for reference. So yeah.
That's great too. Yeah.
So, last thing I'm gonna take a look at here, and then we're gonna get into just a regular old conversation of two D&D nerds.
I love this.
Two TTRPG nerds.
That artwork is beautiful.
Yeah.
It looks a lot like that Magic the Gathering art, you know?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just trolling.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, thanks, Burke. Yeah. All right, the stream's over. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. God bless. Good night. Burke mentioned Magic the Gathering. No, this looks like awesome art, not like... Yeah. Anyway, so a lot of what you got on this side, setting a DC, object armor class, this is a lot of reprinted from the DM screen reincarnated. Oh, here we go.
No, we'll talk about it later.
With Magic the Gathering, yeah.
Push through, Mark. We'll get to that conversation later.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Down sub, I guess. So this side of the screen is actually a reprint from the original Dungeon Master screen. So we go over here, but at the right-hand side is where it starts to get a little different, where you start looking at weather. You can actually roll on this chart for what type of weather you get. So even
I like that.
So you don't have to sit there. Mark says, "I'll fight both of you." Nah, no. There's no fighting in Magic the Gathering. It's just pretend fighting.
I'll just summon Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Nobody has summoned anything around here, Burke, unless it's like a Displacer Beast or something.
Wait, we're not letting Yu-Gi-Oh join either? Dang.
What? Hey, y'all. Thanks for feedback. Oh, no problem, Zach. Gray, you are correct. Magic the Gathering shouldn't be. Mark, well, we're about to go on a tangent. Yes, and that's part of the...
No. We'll come back.
Yeah, somebody keep me on track here. Damn it, Mark. Darn it. I mean, oh, by the way, it's... Burke's stream, for those who don't know, tries to keep it PG-13. I, however, post 10 o'clock. Cussing is permissible. I try to keep it as clean as possible, but I do cuss.
That's my sub streams now.
Those are the sub streams.
I allow PG-19.
PG-19. Oh, good. So Stormy can finally cuss.
Stormy can say whatever he wants.
Stormy can finally say whatever he wants.
The only rule.
So again, we got some charts, right? You've got a D20 roll where, like, I don't know, what's the weather? And you just pop out the D20, make 3 rolls, and you got your temperature, you win, your participation. And again, you get rules for extreme cold.
I love this.
Extreme heat. Yeah, it's really nice. And yes, it's D&D, but I imagine that you could take it and use it for other systems too.
I told you that when I did my my gauntlet thing. I don't know if you remember the 5th edition. I did like a gauntlet thing, and I basically just used this type of stuff, and that was like the entire conflict of like it was like a 6-hour one-off, and the entire conflict was like wind and like mental like fortitude and stuff like that. It was kind of, but this reminds me of it. I love this kind of stuff.
Like environmental hazards. Like you're not just playing against other people. The environment is
give them some
well.
unique encounters. Sure. I love it. I love this kind of stuff.
And that's part of the beauty of D&D, that you have those other factors that you have to throw in as a DM. It's not just battle and combat is on a flat plane, throwing stats up against stats, throwing cards down, seeing whose card beats who else's card. Like that is just, I mean, that's not, and whatever, that's Uno. That's tongue. That's not D&D. D&D is immersive. It's everything's trying to kill you, or at least trying to slow you down. So, or
I like it.
Yeah. So here it also gives you rules for services if you encounter a coach, cab, hireling, messenger, encounter distances. Shows you, and what that is like when you're in a certain type of terrain, how far away you can see an oncoming encounter.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. So that's like, it isn't like all of a sudden these guys are right up on top of you. It's like I've been able to see them for, let's see, Arctic, desert, farmland, grassland. So that's a 66 roll times 10 feet. So that lets you know how far out your players can see your encounter if they're not obscured. You know?
Yeah, so you're looking like a couple 100 feet range there. Versus, I like that.
36 times 10, like 360 feet in the Arctic or the desert. So that's, way off in the distance. Russell, can you share with us your Magic the Gathering card collection next? You never burned them like you said you would. Yeah, Josh, because Josh wanted my Gideon deck, and I told him I'd send it to him, but I can't part with it because my son's name is Gideon. Yeah, I bought it just to burn it on stream. I did.
Wait, but I want your Gideon deck.
I want. Well, we'll talk, Burke. We'll talk. I'm still planning on burning it on stream one day. But I don't want to start a fire in the house.
That's fair.
I like my house.
I mean, there's ways to do it.
Yeah, sure. Let's
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. I'll burn them all and let God sort them out. That's fine. Yeah. Sorry. No, I get to fight me. Mark, you're like 6th on the list, okay? So I'll send you the box that they came in. So then cover light, obscured areas, even a little bit on vessel speeds. Not the Lucario vessels from Alameda.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Food, drink, and lodging, foraging. So yeah, that's that. I'm gonna get off of the screen because oh, look at that. Look at them keys. That is that's dramatic. That's dramatic. This dramatic angles. So let's go back here. So yeah, Burke, that's the wilderness screen there.
I love
let me show that. Yeah.
That is my favorite. So that's actually my favorite part of D&D is creating those unique encounters that are aside from combat. And now I know maybe from those of you testing for, there's a lot of combat involved. But the times that I feel are the most highlighted is those times where you're trying to find solutions other than combat, and the problems don't necessarily encompass that.
Yeah, combat for me, the way I like to run combat has to reflect reality. I'm great with combat. I love it when combat happens, but I think most of the time, in real life, the players find a way to accomplish what they need to accomplish without having to go right to combat. Yeah, and I reward that. Me personally, that's you get as much XP for solving a problem without combat than you do from from jumping right in with both feet. Sometimes even more. Yeah. And I mean, my players in the chat could answer that. That's the way I like to run. That's the way I like to run games. I think it's just as interesting. I don't I don't mind combat heavy games, I guess, but I prefer role playing heavy games.
I like that.
Yeah. Burke, I gotta get you out one time to play.
I'd love to.
Then hopefully you will.
Yeah. I mean, my plan's to make it for the 24-hour stream. So.
Yeah. But we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. So, while I'm adjusting this mic, we touched on the channel and stuff a little bit. So, let's talk in depth, man. When did you first get started in tabletop gaming and role playing, and what's your background in it? Where do you come from on this?
So, I was a normie to almost everything for a long time, and then in high school, I had a friend. I want to say it was probably freshman year. It was freshman year, and I had a friend. And he basically became the nerd guru for me and my friend group. And we were in a thing called Jrotc, which I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah.
And that became a lot of my friend group circled from that. And we started with, we did start with D&D first. And he made his own homebrew version. He didn't want to buy the handbooks. And so he made his own homebrew rules. And it was just a simple, you roll a D20, high number good, low number bad, and then I think he started to add a little bit of stats, but it was pretty basic. And we all just came in. My first character was I believe Squilliam was my first character's name.
Squilliam,
and he was Squilliam, and he was a half squid, half man, and I had 8 arms. And it was again very loose system, and he did not like my character. Me and him always had beef because I learned I was more meant to be a DM where I can't be challenged as easily, and but so versus like being the one that always is trying to push the envelope as a player. And so I'm a bad player. I'm honestly a terrible player. When I've gotten better. I'm bad like with my high school friends, but like I'm better now. Like if I was on yours, it'd be a problem, like because I won't challenge you or something. But if it's like my old friends, I'd be like, no, I can do that. You said like this is my character, but I've worked on it. But I was a guy named Squilliam, and apparently we were able to write 2 powers, and my character. He killed my character because I didn't write underwater breathing as one of the abilities. Because I just assumed I was a squid, so I could breathe underwater. That was our first little thing. Then we ended up going into another campaign, and this time he actually worked on the system, made the system make more sense. He was learning and developing, and I played as a turtle monk, and it was basically it was a ton of fun. And I just had like a bow staff, and I worshipped I just always prayed to this deity, and he would grant me like extra blessings for power. And it was your mic might have pulled out.
I haven't said anything. No, I'm just thinking of where I want to interject. Like I hear Turtle Monk, and all of a sudden I'm thinking Ninja Turtle, bow staff.
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
kind of like a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
And basically, I have a friend who's an artist, and he actually drew he incredibly drew it. And I might see if I can find it if it doesn't take me more than a minute. But basically, the character was an incredible I had an incredible time playing as this guy. And but at the end we decided one day we'd always talk about it at Jrotc in class and stuff, and all throughout the day in classes. And then one day we decided it would be really funny. Now, granted, after this was super meta, and afterward we realized man, we probably shouldn't have done that. But we decided it would be really funny if we just killed one of the characters in our team during the thing. Now, this is in high school, and we knew the guy. He wouldn't mind we do that, but it totally derailed the entire campaign because he didn't die, and then and it caused this entire infighting, and we all ended up. Every character died. It was in a dungeon, in the middle of a dungeon raid, and the problem was I wasn't even there. I was the part of the instigating to say, hey, we're gonna end this character, and because it was a running gag in that we would that this character was just the butt of the joke. And so I, however, was during this dungeon, I got in an altercation in a little orc tavern that was part of the dungeon, and I walked in and I saw all of that 30 orcs or whatever. I think they might have been goblins, and I'm just jumping from tops of bookshelves and flinging things, and I managed to kill everyone but one, almost survived. And then I died, but then they ended up, and so then they did the backstabbing, and it didn't work. And the guy that they were trying to attack, they were in the final dragon's lair, and the dude, instead of running away, woke the dragon up so that it would just kill everybody there. And then so the whole campaign ended that night because we totally railed it after a year of playing. It was but that was my first introduction to D&D. I started becoming a DM after that. I adopted his homebrew style and then kind of made it my own. I'm still looking for this turtle. There's
it was
crazy.
Is straight up turtle or a turtle? Because
he's a turtle.
Yeah, and that's one thing I found recently. I'm oh my god, there is turtles, because I've been playing forever, and for some reason, it totally slipped my mind that turtles existed, and they were actually from my favorite setting, which was Mystara, which is where they originally started at, and then they got ported into the Forgotten Realms. But that's an interesting experience, having your first derailing a campaign and then having everybody die except for the person who was supposed to die as your first.
It was very interesting, man.
So that with them moving on to being a DM, now for, I don't know about you, but for me, D&D is whatever I can point to and say that's D&D. So if you've got your basic stats, the core 6 strength, dexterity, intelligence, constitution, wisdom, and charisma, like you do that and you're rolling a d20, it's D&D to me. I don't know how you feel
Right.
about that. Is that sort of like your mindset? That's your catch-all?
Yeah. So I think in my head, it's like you just are trying to. I see it as creative storytelling, and add it with maybe. I feel like if it even has one rule, it honestly doesn't even need to have any rules. But like, you just make a small format to it, and it's creative storytelling.
Right.
It's group storytelling, and I think that's also the important part is that it's not single one person story. It's the group storytelling, and I think once you grab that, everything else doesn't really matter because it's the story that's taking the centerfold.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you to a point. Tyler, welcome to the server, sir. I agree with you, but I will say that rules to a degree are important because otherwise you just end up playing Vampire the Masquerade. And there was a lot of that when I was younger. Like the thing with being a DM and being a creative person, I like a certain amount of structure, but I like flexibility within that structure. Yeah, if that makes sense. I've played some role-playing games where me as a character, my dungeon master or GM has asked me, like, what do you see when you walk into this room? I'm like,
Right.
You tell me, man. I mean, like, you're the GM. What do I see? Like, what can I fuck up? Like, you know, you tell me. Like, I don't know. I see a guy sitting there with a bag of gold. I just take it from him. I mean, I like structure and I like rules. But I agree with you. It is storytelling. That's the most important thing to me. Is that the shared experience, cooperative storytelling. You know, and that's the core of it. And I think what a lot of people who haven't played before don't necessarily realize is that it is a game, but it's at its heart, it's a bunch of people getting together, telling these tales, having these shared experiences, and if done right, man, it's absolutely magical. But if done like bad, it can be really bad. And I know a lot of people who have had bad experiences. Has there been any really bad experiences you've had either as a player or as a DM that have sort of like made you step back for a minute and like, do I want to keep doing this? You know, is this what I want to do? Like anything in your life?
I think so. Like I said, I was a bad player, and it took me a while to realize that. But I think one of the things that like some of my negative experiences have just been like a bad understanding on my part, and also of like either a DM or a player's part on like what roles the people play and respecting that balance. I feel like that's the only times I've ran into issues. But honestly, I've never really had anything I've never really had anything that was like, I need to step back or I need to like, I feel like I've always just tried to approach it of like, I'm going to have fun. I'm just going to let happen what happens. Right. And I find the more disappointment is when I like have a too much of an idea of control in some way, or if a player or DM has too much control, like too much of a control mindset.
Combative DMs. Yeah. That's I found that a lot. Let me just take a look at chat here for a second. Are we talking World of Darkness though, for real? Like World of Darkness. I don't remember that one, Lisa. I remember Vampire the Masquerade. I don't remember World of Darkness. And Zach, you can be Leo. That's fine. Everything.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course you can.
Where do you think is the line between railroading and controlling a direction in a story? And do you think that, like, what level of improvisation should a DM be prepared for?
Honestly, 100%. Like, I don't think there is a line between having an idea where you want the story to go and having the main plot, and then forcing people to take a straight path there, or any type of path there. But as a DM, I think at least in session, you should be prepared to go 100% off book. At no point in time you know, it's one thing if you have the main plot and you want to sort of, if the players say, you know, you have them prepared to go into a certain town where they're going to meet an NPC, and they say, nah, screw that, we're going to go down by the river and go fishing. If you know, that's what they're going to do. Now, down there at that river, that NPC that you may have wanted them to meet in the town, you could move that NPC around to that river.
Do you consider that railroading?
I don't consider that railroading, because you still let them do whatever they wanted to do, and your world is a living, breathing place, and you can make up whatever in-game reason you want to have that person that they're supposed to meet be at the location that they're going to. Now that I don't like talking about that a lot, because I don't, you know, that's why I like leaving the world a lot of room to breathe. And not writing everything in stone, because you have that ability as a DM or a GM, if you know, or if you want to use the word GM, I don't. But as a DM, you know, you want to have that flexibility and not set everything in stone, so you can still have them run into the things that is important to their story, not to yours. You know, and that's not railroading. Railroading is saying, no, you can't go down to the river. No, you have to go into this town. You have to do this. You're still in control of the story no matter what, of what they're going to run into, what they're going to encounter out in this world. And it's okay to move certain set pieces around to still arrive to the main story. But also, if they blow your main story apart, be prepared to go with whatever happens. Your world is living and breathing. If they meet that NPC who was really important to your plot, and he says something bad about their moms, and they yoke them, you know, that's their choice, you know. And don't play favorites with your NPCs. Like, if you've got an NPC you really like, is really important to the story, but they drop him off of a cliff, you know, they drop him off a cliff, you know, he's gone. You just you have to work around it. And I've had some sessions where, like, almost immediately things have taken a complete left turn, and you spend the next 3 hours coming up with stuff off the top of your head because you don't want to end a session. And then I'm writing notes down, and thanks God, sometimes some of my players are like really good note takers. Like Lisa's in the chat now. She's an exquisite note taker, and I don't want to get into too much details because I don't want to pull the curtain back too much, but there's been times I'm like, oh, Lisa, do a recap of what happened last week. And, like, she'll run down, and I'm like, okay, God, I forgot about that, you know? Like, because I had to improv so much of it from the session before, where I'm like, I don't remember exactly. And, like, I'm so busy trying to come up with stuff and to try to keep things moving and make it seem real loose and real for them. Without being like stammering and like, I don't know what's going on here, that I forget the little minutia. So it's nice to have players that are really good note takers. But yeah, that
I like that.
Lisa is our replay button. You got it, Zach.
I started making just like even for the Burtastic 4, like some, like, unless there's important things I need to say, it, like, sometimes I've literally, like, today's session, I have, if you looked at my paper, it was like 7 bullets. It was just like this thing, and it was nothing about like where it comes in or how to get there, just like this thing. And then I'm like, this is there. Let's go.
This is there.
Which works out.
So when you're creating your worlds, like Burtastic 4 or D&D, like how set in stone do you like to create them? Like, what is the way you do it? Like, if maybe not so much for Burtastic 4, because I know it's a little bit of a different animal, but when you're creating campaigns for D&D, will you build out your entire worlds, then fit your players into it? Will you just sort of develop characters and their relationships and let it play out? Like, how far do you plan with your campaigns?
So my campaigns have always existed inside of my own homebrewed world called Rund. I actually I want to say like freshman year, I was in like one of my classes, and I was like writing world maps. I've been obsessed since like Lord of the Rings growing up. I remember I had friends, and they brought me upstairs, and they were like, we're gonna watch Lord of the Rings. And I'm like, okay. And I watched it, and my brother stayed downstairs, and that was forever the splitting path of me becoming the nerd in the family. And I just got obsessed with world building, and so like I created this like planet, and then I'm like, well, now I want to like fill it with things that are in it. And so I started with this little island And oh, you know what? I might have it. I don't think did I bring it? Give me 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Wait.
No, I'll talk. Let me talk to the chat here for a little bit. So
okay, let's see if I have it.
No, it's fine. Yeah, Burke. This message is brought to you by Burke the Nerd. Let's see, how's everybody doing in chat? Vito, good to see you. I know I've been a little neglectful, but the conversation with Burke is going to be moving at a clip. So let me just jump back into the chat here a little bit. I may remind everybody that coming up on the 8th of January, we're going to do our 24-hour live stream starting at 9 p.m. Going to go all the way into the 9th at 9 p.m. Yeah, hey, what's your Discord? If I could get a mod to pop the link up to our Discord and chat. On the Discord, you will have all the information about, how to be a part of the 24-hour stream, how to, yeah, I don't have it set up for that. I'm not that technologically advanced. I'm an old man over here, Burke. I've been playing since '83.
That's all right.
You know? Yeah. But anybody who wants to, what's that?
Sad news, it's at my parents' house, so I don't know.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah. One day what we should do is we should do a stream where we just gather all of our old all of our old stuff, all of our drawings, all the crappy stuff that we kicked out through the years, like every little sketch. Yeah, I mean, I'm chubby now, or I'd stand up and go find one of mine, but I don't want to. Some jiggling, man. I am jiggling so bad these days. I don't want to subject everybody to that. I'll get canceled if I go stand up now. I'm just gonna.
Dude, basically what I did. So to kind of like what I was trying to show, the tangent was I basically drew this big world map, and I took a little island, like a small island that was like this big on like a big piece of paper, and I was like, I'm gonna start and create a world around that little spot. And I went with a friend, the same artist that drew very nice picture of my turtle monk. I had him draw with me a map of that world, and it's a map like this big. It's huge. It looks like those like really well drawn like Lord of the Rings or D&D maps with like the trees and the mountains. Yeah. And so it's incredible. It's written on this like hard parchment paper, so it looks beautiful. And I just create a world on that and a story in that whole place. And then it just grew and grew and grew. And I think I actually showed you the map it became. And I have different countries with histories. I started working on like lore to each one. I started writing like individual like battle stories from like thousands of years ago. And I just went deep into it. Yeah. And then it became easy when I started doing my D&D because I threw them in that world. I had my homebrew system, so that, and I had different races that kind of added to it, and I just threw them on that island, and they spent months there, and they thought this is the biggest it gets, and then I finally was like, there's more, and then they explored and they got to learn more world. It got bigger and bigger, and that's like that. I wanted to make that feeling that I get when you watch like Lord of the Rings or like Game of Thrones that it used to have, where it was like you see a small aspect and you're like, there's so much more that I have no clue about. And I love that feeling.
And it wants you to go, it begs to be explored. It begs for you to uncover the lore.
Exactly.
Yep. And one of the hardest things I've had to realize over the years, and I used to do that. I used to go real deep for my players.
Yep.
And then I realized 90% of the time, if it's not relevant to exactly what they're doing at that given time, they don't care. They're like, but I've got pages of lore. I don't care, man. What's the point of doing? Yeah, no, but that's the thing that you learn to do as a DM. It's like the lore is great. Creating these worlds is great, and it's a lot of fun, but you have to let go of the fact that like your players may not be into it, you know? Your players, it's a balancing act. Your players may like it on the surface level. They may want to explore a little bit, scratch a little bit of it, but you know, this king's 17th cousin who lost the battle on this island that they've never been to, they may not care about that, you know? But so it's this balancing act. But I love lore dives. I love creating this world. And even if the players never see that stuff, it's still rewarding as a DM to create it. So
I don't know if it's
go,
a stream thing, but me and you need to do a lore dive sometime. Just even if it's not even a stream, we just need to have a lore dive.
So Wells knows this, and a couple people know this. I've been playing in one form or fashion in the same world since 1983. The first island, I've done some multiverse stuff, quite frankly, because now everything's 5th edition, and I've had to adapt some things to that. Yeah. And but yeah, the very first island that me and my friend David ever drew was Isle of Kreen. It was inhabited with 3 Kreen, which is like an ant person. The very first island that we did still exists in my game today.
That's awesome.
I've been drawing from stuff since '83, and there's little things. I almost do it for myself. Like I'll throw things in there and characters in there, and a lot of my players have no clue that this person is drawn from a PC that existed 3 decades ago. You know?
Oh, I love that. I love that.
But for me, it's so rich. That's the enjoyment.
That's
really
incredible.
The enjoyment that I get out of it too. So I will build these things out, and I've been building on top of stuff for quite some time. But also, we talked about railroading. If the players aren't interested in that, you have to just let them not be interested in it. You know, they have to just go to the bar and do the surface level stuff. But a lot of my players now, bless their hearts, are interested in it because I make them.
Care.
You must care. Who cares about this lich? I'm like, everybody cares about this lich. I swear. So all right. So let's see. We're about an hour in. You still got a little bit to go, Burke. Are you good? Or
I'm good. You got me nerdy.
I got you nerding out. Yeah. Well, like 5 of those dudes just got wrecked. Sorry, LPCs. Yeah.
Oh my God.
True. Oh,
my old PCs I cared so much about.
Hey, I know. I don't want to niche down too personal because then we'll start to lose people. But hey, buddy. Yes, Marcus. Say hi to Marcus. Say hi, Marcus.
Hey.
Say Marcus. Everybody, Marcus. Why are you still up? Anyway. Hey, don't. Oh, sorry, never mind. So the group, the Monday's group just went through the penultimate boss fight.
I love it.
It was a 4 sessions worth of combat. Like 4 sessions worth. What about 4.5 hours each, guys?
Dude,
it was pretty epic. And a lot of people died. A lot of people didn't make it. But. Yeah, there were some old characters bit the dust, but I don't mind. It's part of loss. It was part of letting go of characters. All right. So you want to talk? We talked a little bit about Magic. You want to talk a little bit about Magic, or do you want to go into talking about what you got coming up? It's up to you. I'll leave that to you, sir.
I feel like we can briefly touch on the Magic because I feel like is out an explanation. Maybe just quickly touch on it. Yeah, I think that's good. And then maybe we can just quickly touch on what I'm doing if you want. Doesn't matter.
All right. So, I don't know. Many people may or may not know this. That was kind of stupid of me to say. Okay, so people may or may not know this, but I absolutely abhor Magic the Gathering creep into Dungeons and Dragons. There, I've said it. Magic the Gathering is Uno for geeks, and I'm not sad to say it. It's a card game. It's an overinflated card game with an overinflated sense of self-worth. It's ridiculously pointless. The lore is for shit. Doesn't mean anything. It's fine on its own. I mean, I see kindling, but whatever.
There's like $5,000 right here.
I know, right? And what are you getting out of it, Burke? I mean, come on. They got you by the balls. Like,
me and my friend, we'd work once every other weekend at a place in Philly and during high school. And when we got our $200 paychecks, we would put them all towards Magic cards. And it just would happen.
I see. You got sucker written on your forehead. I don't know what to tell you. Like, This isn't... let me just say the exact same thing could be said about D&D. Mark, You're absolutely incorrect. The lore does matter. It is not just throwing somebody's stats up against somebody else. That's what you're doing in Magic. You're like, hey, I've got these stats on this card. I'm going to put it up against this card and these stats. And that's what it is. There's no role-playing to it. It's just not. There's no role-playing.
That's fair. I mean, they're definitely different animals.
Of course they're different animals.
I think when it comes down to it, it's like one is a... Well, here's the reality. It's. I think the question is what it really breaks down to is D&D a game? Because a game typically implies that there is a loser or winner. Not necessarily, but there typically implies there's a person or an obstacle to overcome for a victory. Now, when you look at Dungeons and Dragons, do you see a victory? That's really the question.
There actually classically is a victory to Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
If you go back to Beckby and you go back to Gygax's rules, the victory was to gather enough money, enough lands to become a landholder, to have minions, to have people follow you. There was a winning. There was winning to the game.
Okay.
It has been since sort of rooted out. But originally there was a winning proposition to Dungeons and Dragons. You could win. And it was to live long enough to see yourself become a land baron, to have subjects underneath you, and become an NPC in the world moving forward. A lot of what you see in 2nd edition were original players at Gygax's table and Dave Arness's table. They went on to become NPCs, and that was considered the end game of Dungeons and Dragons. So originally there was an end game to D&D.
So I would say in that situation, though, it's when you make a victory condition, like a win condition, is when I think they start to overlap. And I'm not saying overlap specifically those two, but it is where you start to see parallels, because I don't think D&D now represents that. I think D&D now represents like a communal storytelling expanse, and yes, it's a game, but it's also like it's not about the winning, it's about the journey.
Sure.
And I think like that's the fundamental difference between that and Magic now versus like if it was just for an end goal and just for winning in Dungeons and Dragons, then there would be a min-maxing and it could easily become stat matching.
Oh my god. But a lot of people still, even with it being story driven, there is still a tremendous amount of stat matching and min maxing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not as much as 3.5, but it still definitely exists.
But that's my point.
I agree with what you said.
It could become a lack of care for the story and become, but it's that's because it's diverted from that and become its own thing, that it's separate from Magic. And so I see what your point is, saying to keep them separate. I mean, like there's two ways to look at it, in my opinion. There's like you look at the they're taking story beats from Magic lore and they're bringing that over to D&D, and the reality is it doesn't need to happen. I personally don't have a problem with it, but I don't think it needs to happen is the problem. It's because like why divert from the creativity? It really and maybe this is a removal of creativity and recycled resources.
Here is, and I first let me say hey to Trinity. 2nd Street Marvel is in the house.
Hey Trinity, what's up, man?
So let me address something here. If you only go by T122 modern standard drafting, yes, it's about the card game. However, looking at more casual formats like EDH, it can be much more about the lore. That's fine. And I guess my issue isn't necessarily, and maybe I haven't made this point clear. I really don't hate Magic. Okay, it's not my game. I do believe that it's Uno for geeks. I believe it's a very separate game. But what happens is, because Wizards of the Coast owns both Magic the Gathering and D&D, they have cast aside wealths of D&D lore proper in favor of importing Magic the Gathering lore into Dungeons and Dragons in order to get people from Magic the Gathering to play Dungeons and Dragons. 40% of the recent setting books that have been released for Dungeons and Dragons are Magic the Gathering setting books. One of them, so we've got I'm going off the top of my head here, but I did a video on it. If anybody wants to go back and look, it's an earlier video. Yeah. So we have Ravnica, Theros, Eberron, Wildmount, and the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. those are the setting books for D&D. Eberron was created in 3.5 edition from like a fan. Okay, so that's not an initial D&D. Wildmount was, of course, Critical Role, and then you've got then you've got Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, which is Forgotten Realms, which is barely a setting book, which leaves you with Ravnica and Theros, which I do have Theros here. I did buy it. I have it.
Yeah.
So that means that all the traditional D&D settings, Dark Sun, Greyhawk, Ravenloft, Spelljammer, Planescape, all of those get pushed to the side. They get marginalized. They do not have official setting books in 5th edition. Pick that book up with some respect, Polyhedra. No, this book, that's junk. Junk, Wells. I'll send it to you in a cardboard box if you want. That's junk. So all those get pushed to the side in favor of Magic the Gathering, and it's not done for creative reasons. It's done because they think they can get some of the money that Magic the Gathering makes over to Dungeons and Dragons. That's my problem with Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons. I like to have fun with it. I like to say it's because of this, that, and the other, but really it's because it is taken away from the settings that could be produced for D&D, and it's gotten shifted to, like, let's put out another Magic the Gathering setting so we can get these players from Magic the Gathering over to D&D, while all these other settings that are fully formed and ready to go. Eberron has been an official D&D setting since 2004. Yes. 3.5 edition. Yes. And yeah, I understand. I know that, but I mean, I'm just saying its origins were from like a fan.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, it sounds to me like the issue isn't that it's not that those issues exist, but more so that if the volume stayed the same of improvements towards the previous and existing worlds in D&D, then there would be no issue with these being added. But it's because they are using that and cutting back on what they previously made. It's because if they could do them in tandem, then it wouldn't be an issue.
Right.
I see what you're saying.
And I mean, say that in my video. Like, it's not so much that I have a problem with these settings being included in D&D, because the more the merrier. Matt, take it easy, buddy. I'll see you. I will see you on Saturday. Matt's in one of my other D&D groups. It isn't necessarily that Magic the Gathering isn't D&D. It's because all these other settings are being sacrificed so that can happen. So to me, I sort of take it out on Magic the Gathering, where like if you weren't here, I could have a fully formed Ravenloft setting. If you weren't here, I could have Planescape back. I could have Dark Sun. But because you're here, and because they care more about money than creativity, then I'm stuck with you, and I don't like you now because of it.
It's like the stepdad or something.
Yeah, it's like my redheaded stepdad that beats me and tells me that he's just as good as my real dad, when clearly he never bought me a cheeseburger.
It's true. I mean, I'm sorry that you never bought them.
Well, I would say the 60-40... Okay, Mark D says, I would say that a 60-40 split could be good because maybe it's brought in a lot of new players. D&D in and of itself has brought in a lot of new players. Critical Role, just the proliferation of online play. I don't know, like, if you really look at the numbers for sales for Ravnica and Theros, I can't say with any certainty, but I don't think they've done as well as I thought they were going to.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I agree with you. I think I do agree with you. I think I wouldn't discourage from doing what they're currently doing. Clearly, there's a business play to keep D&D relevant as well. But I do think that, like, they could probably benefit from, if they're not going to do it, like, give opportunities for it to be made. Whether it be like, I don't know, you have like some other, like, I don't know, have it worked on. I think there's definitely ways to bring the balance a little bit better. I don't see any issues with the Magic settings, but I do agree giving too much of a ratio could be a problem.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to have them. Honestly, there's a lot of interesting rules in Theros that they have for dealing with gods and communing with gods, and it is a higher level of play. But the thing I don't like, and maybe the problem isn't with the Magic the Gathering setting, it's the problem with Wizards of the Coast in general, is that they need to up their production of setting books and core material. You know, so that's and I guess it's just me sort of projecting onto Magic the Gathering. okay, Mark asks, of course they care about money, their business is not a nonprofit. I know, Lisa, but I also think that they're missing the boat there. Lisa brings up a good point. Of course they care about money, their business is not a nonprofit. But I think they underestimate the value that bringing some of the old settings forward, how much a value-added proposition that could be.
Or even creating new settings.
Sure, even creating new settings. But I think that they have so much. There is a call for some of the Planescape, Spelljammer, which is basically D&D in space. I think that would play real well.
I think it's the classic like scale loses creativity kind of issue.
Yeah. So
I agree.
So I guess that's enough of me dying on this Magic the Gathering hill because I just sound like get off my lawn. Here's Mark D says, here's a question: how familiar are non-D&D folks with traditional D&D settings? I'm not sure how familiar non-D&D folks are with any D&D setting. You know, so traditional, not traditional. What is it? I mean, it's not that it's traditional. It's just that it's an IP.
Yeah, I think he's more. I think it's Jason's more speaking to the fact about respecting the people you currently have.
Yeah, well, too, the best selling adventure that they've had up to this point has been Curse of Strahd. Curse of Strahd deals with Ravenloft, yet they haven't released an official setting. There's so much material for that, and that's one of their best selling adventures. And they've taken things from the world of Greyhawk and inserted them into the Forgotten Realms, because those particular things are profitable rather than developing a Greyhawk setting. So they're sort of mismatching. Okay. All right. I guess maybe the place that features of video games. All right. Let's enough of me, because I'm pretty sure that I've made no friends here today.
No, you're all good, man. I like this kind of stuff. You can get me on tangents like this on a bunch of different topics, so you're all good, man.
So
need your passion.
Yeah, it's hard to predict your ratio. Yeah, so Mark's right. It's hard, but that's why they put those surveys out, and they ask the Wizards of the Coast puts out surveys every once in a while. Asks you what was your entry point into the game? What is your favorite setting? How do you like to play? So they do poll their people, and that's why it's very important. And just speaking out there to everybody, lean in a little bit. It's very important that if you play, it's very important that if you play when Wizards of the Coast does release those surveys, you have to fill them out so that your voice can be heard. Because otherwise, people like me just sitting here complaining on a YouTube channel, they don't have a voice unless they fill out those surveys. I don't know, Mark. They didn't.
He might be making
hard.
a joke. Is it to interpret?
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Waffle Dog. I mean, you certainly haven't made enemies. I tend to do that a lot, making enemies. But anyway. All right. Well, look. Hey, while me and Burke talk a little bit about what he has coming up, because I do believe you have some very interesting things coming up. If anybody would, we're gonna go for maybe about another. I'm gonna go for maybe about another 15 minutes. Burke, if you want to stick around, that's fine. You can. But if anybody wants to hop in and complain to me or talk to Burke, if you want to go to the Discord and take a look at the Let's Talk section, Burke and I are there. Hop on in. Just leave yourself muted till I see you. You guys are more than welcome to come on stream. If you want to just come in with voice, tell me just voice. If you want to come with video, I will. Well, it's your good point. You make enemies all the time. You're a DM creating enemies is your thing. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. Oh,
do you want me to do my thing now, or do you want me to wait?
Yeah, let's do your thing now. While anybody who wants to come in, you're more than welcome to hop into Let's Talk, and I'll bring you in when I can. And just let me know if you just want to go voice or video. So if Mod can put the link to the Discord one more time up in chat for anybody who's not a part of it. Oh, that just got all funky. Hold on. Yeah.
Good.
Hold on.
I'm in the void now.
There we go. Hi, bud. I see you.
Oh.
Hey, look at that little hand. Little gremlins. All right, Burke. So tell us what you got coming up, buddy.
Yeah, man. So basically, the next in I guess it's almost 24 hours from now. Starting at tomorrow midnight, I will be doing a 24-hour and I'm going to be doing a lot of crazy stuff. I will be having Jason, I believe, two different occasions. We just added another slot for to talk about gaming. We're going to kind of continue this discussion a little bit at 6 a.m. As part of our New Year's stream, and basically continue this. But then he's also in our Alpha Squad, which. So I guess I should explain that a little bit.
Yeah.
Basically, what I do is, on top of doing my Monday and Thursday just nerdy topic discussions, kind of like a Den of Nerds or like a Fanjecture or someone else like that does. I do a lot of those kind of conversations about whatever's going on. But on my Wednesday streams, I have what's called the Burktastic 4, and that is a RPG series taking place in my own version of the Marvel universe. Not really the Marvel Cinematic Universe, more like the Marvel Comic Universe. And I take that universe and I have two different teams which alternate on weeks. And they're 4 different cast members per. They play as their own characters, their own created superheroes that are taking place in this universe. And basically they form a team and they are working on becoming superheroes. They start as low-level street vigilantes, and they're working their way up, getting used to their powers, and maybe will eventually become as powerful as the Avengers or the Fantastic Four, the X-Men. We have Jason's actually on the Alpha Squad, which will be on at noon on New Year's Eve, Eastern Standard Time, and they will be doing their season finale. We had the season finale of the Beta Boys today, and which turned out really well. It went phenomenal. And the Alpha Squad is going to be wrapping up their first season on New Year's, and it's a huge event. It's a culmination, but it's been a ton of fun, and all of the other stuff's on my YouTube, the Nerd Same as well. So you can catch up on the past episodes. It'll be episode, I believe, 13, and that'll be the wrap of the first season. And then I'm also premiering a one-off episode of the Burkalorian, which will be like a Mandalorian in the or Mandalorian setting. It's going to follow the season 2 events, and it's going to be a series of 4 characters that are going to be interacting in the Star Wars universe through their own little story. So if you're looking for a fix to that, that's happening at 6 o'clock or 4 o'clock on the same day. And we got like some Den of Nerds guys over there. We got Star Wars Santa. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, that's what I do. If you check out my YouTube, you can see all the previous stuff I have done. And there's different playlists there for different stream topics. But the Burktastic 4, if you're into D&D, it's not perfect D&D. It is very homebrew, very, very homebrew. But it's meant to also be to play as like a show as well. So it's kind of a little bit of a hybrid. If you like that kind of stuff, check it out. I really highly recommend. We've been having a fun making it. I've had a fun DMing it. You've had fun, I'm sure, playing it, or at least you voiced that. And then I think everyone in the chat's loved being a part of it. And that's pretty much it for me. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, it's been an awful lot of fun. I say, like, your prefix game is strong. Like Burkalorian, like it's spoken like a true DM. Like so narcissist. Man, all of us.
I got to.
All of us, man. All of us are so narcissistic. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Have you ever met a DM that wasn't all about themselves?
Like, well, the thing is, like, it's not like a Fanjecture or something like that where, like, it's not based on their name. Like, when I made my channel, I was like, Burke the Nerd, sure. And then it, like, I'm not going to change it now. I mean, I like it. Honestly, I'm not going to say I don't like it.
It's good.
But, like, it's kind of just become a running meme to just, like, put Burke into everything that I add just to make it somewhat funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's low-hanging fruit, but the fruit is delicious. So it's
exactly
okay. The fruit tastes
I feel
good.
uncomfortable.
No, you should feel uncomfortable. It's fine. Everybody knows you're a narcissist. It's all good. No, I'm sorry, Burke. I'm just kidding.
No, I love it. I love it.
I know. Like that, but that's the thing about a DM. Like, you gotta have a pinch of that. Like, you gotta want the eye a little bit.
Twice.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. So I think Mark is in.
Yep, and I'll probably have time for like a call or two, and then I gotta head out.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna call it. Maybe like Mark, if anybody else wants to jump in real quick, but I think we're gonna do Mark because he seemed to be chopping at the bit. Not do Mark. I mean, I don't know him like that, but we'll talk to him definitely, and then I'll probably just do some channel announcements and stuff. And we're gonna call it because we ran long, but it's been a great conversation. So, Mark, can you hear me? Can you hear me, bud? Mark? Mark, are you there?
Mark, you're blowing your chance.
I hope it's not on my end, otherwise I'll feel bad. Oh, hold on a second, let me fix my mic. Did your mic stand fall off too? I mean, like that's. Oh, hi, Mark. I did not mute him. I did not mute him. Hi, Mark.
Oh my
man. While we're waiting for Mark to pop in, I want to remind everybody that on the 8th at 9 p.m. we're going to be doing starting the 24-hour stream. Mark is blowing his chance. Get some knee pads. You're blowing it. Anyway, so yeah,
No.
I told you it goes a little bit above and beyond. But anyway, so on January the 8th at 9 p.m. we're going to start a 24-hour stream. It's going to support. We're going to stream for charity. The charity is. His arms are sweaty. No, so the charity is Take This. Yeah, the charity is Take This. I'm gonna pop the link in the Discord. So it's Take This, and it goes to help mental health awareness in the gaming community. I hit personally. I'm not gonna get into too much. Thank you very much, Wells. So I hit a rough patch, like right around the time we had 100 subs, and I did an interview. Things started getting a little wonky. Personally, mentally wasn't doing so hot, and with the help of the people I played D&D with and my family and everything, I was able to sort of pull through it and everything. But not everybody has the outlets that I did, so I feel like Take This is a good outlet for a lot of people, where they really help people in the gaming community. Yeah, there we go. Hold on, Mark. And so we're gonna raise some money to support their cause. So you'll be able to, during the streams, you'll be able to donate directly to them. I will have my Venmo account up, so you can donate to the channel as well. That would be separate. Anybody who gives money to that will also have half of that money go to Take That. So there's more information on that available on the Discord. That is the 8th and the 9th. So I'd love to have everybody come out. We still have spots available for playing. Burke, I know you're going to be in for some of it, right?
Yeah,
you're down for some of it. Wells is playing. Lisa, I believe, is playing. Gray, as much as she can. Some of my regular players. So yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And I want to invite you, yes you, the one out there with the keyboard and the lotion habit. Anyway, you're more than welcome to come. Anyway, so I believe on the line we have Mark. Mark, good evening this evening. How are you, sir?
Hello there. How's it going, guys?
Going good.
Good, man.
Good. I assume you have a counterpoint to the Magic the Gathering argument.
I think you had a different question.
Well, actually, I we can talk about that later, because actually my question is actually more pertinent to D&D, because I have a campaign coming up, and everyone except for me and the DM has zero experience with D&D. Basically, they're all new to this, and we're only doing it because we're friends, and that's why we're going to play. So, and my experience is also very, very little, because I tried to jump into a campaign where I was the only new player. Everyone else was like super experienced, so I was intimidated, so kind of stopped early on. So my question is, I'm going to be kind of like the lieutenant to the DM, and I want to try and make everything as smooth as possible for everybody, so the first session or whatever can be really fun, so people can get into it. And I want to know, what kind of things should I try to do as like second command to try and make that session, first one at least, go like as smoothly and make it as fun as possible for basically people who have zero experience with D&D.
So are you playing as well, or are you just sort of?
Yes, I'm one of the players and the DM, who's the only that actually has like a lot of experience, is going to be DMing. So I want to try and be kind of like the person people can hold their hand while they're trying to figure out combat or what they
Mhm.
can do at whatever moment and when to roll and all that kind of stuff. And again, I have very little knowledge myself
Right.
as well. So I'm going to be doing lots of research before we start.
Mhm.
So I want to get some like ideas of like what should I look at, what should I review and study about, so I can be that kind of second in command kind of person.
Sure. Have you guys done a session 0 yet? And do you know what that is?
No and no.
Okay. So I would recommend that before you even do anything with rolling the dice, you have what's called a session 0, where all of you get together. You go over your characters with the DM. You go over expectations at the table. Sort of set like a code of ethics, like how you guys are going to interact with each other, like things that maybe you guys don't want to experience at the table. Like especially if you guys are new, you may have some things that personally you're not okay with, like excessive torture, scenes of graphic violence. I don't know, stuff like that. So you want to get together and completely like go over a checklist of what you guys are okay with, what you're all like expected to do, how you're expected to behave at the table. That's first and foremost. But you also want to go over with your DM your characters. So you want to let your DM know sort of what you're playing, and sort of have a back and forth and a conversation, like an informal conversation before the game starts, so you guys are sort of all aware of what you guys what your abilities are, and then you want to take a little bit of time, like in that first game, like to really sort of go through with holding everybody else's hand. It's like when you're going to go through combat, you want to have, I mean, it's even something as simple as this, like where, let me show you. So it's okay to have a checklist when going into combat, because like all of you guys are new and you're sort of a little bit more experienced. So like you could even take a look at something like this, where you have a checklist at the table of actions in combat, and really take your time those first few sessions and sort of keep the training wheels on. Don't put too much of a high expectation on yourself at the beginning, that you really feel like you have to have this game nailed. Like take your time the first few sessions with a checklist at the table, running through actions in combat, running through. The easiest thing for you guys should be role playing, because then that's just group interacting. And I don't mean role playing with like voices. Like totally throw that out the window. If I can give you a bit of advice, a lot of people want to come out of the gate doing voices, really being bombastic. Just say what your characters are going to do. And like you as a little bit more of an experienced person, like take some of the pressure off of some of your other players, where if they feel like they have to like act and be bombastic, just tell them no. Just like have people just describe what their players are doing. Like, I want to go talk to so-and-so. I want to try to open up this chest. I want to go fight this guy. Like, take a lot of pressure off of people in that regard. And, like, you can help sort of between you and the DM, where you can sort of mediate, where it would probably be a good idea for you to sort of be like the group's spokesperson. And that's not a bad idea. But just, and if you're looking for specific like information you want to bring to the table, I think it's probably best if you join the Discord. We can have a more in-depth conversation about it, where I can give you some cheat sheets. I can give you some checklists that'll help you at the beginning. That's going to be easier to do via the Discord than really get in depth about it here. I don't know if that helped at all. Hopefully it did. But yeah, you're more than welcome. Just hit me up at the Discord, or anybody else who's in the Discord too, who's been playing for a while. We've been more than happy to get a little bit more in depth than we can do on the air here. So
that's good.
Cool. Yeah. Actually, that point about the acting part is actually, I remember one thing is that when I tried my first session with all the experienced guys, they were doing that, and it really threw me off, because I'm like going, I wasn't ready to do any of this.
And
totally, it really threw me off.
And that can be jarring, especially if you're playing with people who have played for a while, because you feel like there's that expectation where you have to perform. And while it is this like group storytelling, like even now, I'm with a lot of people who've been playing for a while and who haven't, and it's varied at the table. There's people who just say what they're going to do, and there's people who do full-on voices. But nobody treats each other different. Nobody should treat each other different at the table, because it's all acceptable. Any way that you choose to play the game is completely acceptable. Yep.
Yeah, because like never treated me differently, but it was only my internal like thought process that made me feel that I just wasn't ready for this. Like, am I supposed to do this? And no one like told me the rules of the road, so I was just sitting there going, I do this, and that was about like the most I could really get out because I was just like going, I'm not doing. Am I doing this right? Like, they got no positive feedback to let me know. Yes, you should do that, or hey, why don't you try that or try this? And I want to be that person.
It can really make you feel closed off too. Like you don't know how to participate. You don't want to participate at that point. But yeah, you just totally remove those expectations. Like, don't feel like you have to do the voices. In fact, I wouldn't even recommend doing that for a while because it detracts away from your play. Like, that's the least of your concerns is the voices. What's that?
You feel discouraged too when you stop doing the accent. It gets tiring, and then you drop it, and then you're like, "Oh, now I'm not even playing as my character."
I couldn't hold it up. No, it's
and then you don't even feel like you're playing your character. Versus if you talk as your voice and you make that voice your character's voice, it becomes attached.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, and also those cheat sheets sound great because like when I used to teach people how to play Magic, we would actually have cheat sheets for like how you go through your turn to make sure everyone knows what to do. Yeah. And like in the beginning, what I would do is I would like let them know like untap, upkeep, draw, first main phase, combat, all that stuff. And then after a while, I'd stop mentioning things and then let them fall into mistakes. And then I would say, well, you forgot to do it, and it would slowly build up to a point where they would then be able to remember on their own because a couple mistakes, easy way to remember everything you're supposed to do in on your turn, or basically on your turn.
Do you mind if I interject there? I was going to say, I think a good thing as well going into D&D is going to be taking a similar but opposite approach. I don't know if that's going to make sense, but I'll try to get there. In a way, there are the rules, right? And I don't know how experienced your DM is, but if he knows, like he'll know this if he knows it, But like, what you want is you want your players to step out of the rules. You want your characters to feel outside of the rules. You want to follow the rules, but you want them to feel outside the rules. And so when if you don't, the one thing you don't want to do is be the guy that said, like, you want to make sure you're not being like, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that. You want to make sure you say, like I know, Jason, I believe you champion the face down character sheet. I don't necessarily think you need to do that here.
Well, no,
but I think
that's a little bit further on.
Right.
The road. I think it's probably a bad idea early on.
Yeah, for a whole doing that, it would kind of be chaos. But because they're all learning, I think the best way to do it is instead of is just being a little bit more of a like, hey, tell me, don't look at your sheet. You look at your sheet and see what you can do, but tell me what you want to do. Let's not worry about can you do it or can you not do it. Tell me what your character wants to do, and we're going to get back to the rules from there. But start at tell me what you want to do.
I think Burke makes a good point. If I can just clarify, I think what Burke's trying to say is like when you guys are doing it, it's a little bit harder at the beginning, but the way you guys want to approach the game, and it not so much with combat, but you want to treat it like, don't try to play within the rules. Just say, I want to do this. This is how I'm going to approach. Like, I want to go talk to the shopkeeper. Don't even look at your sheet. Just say, this is what I want to do, and let your DM tell you what you need to roll. Like,
a lot of people get caught up.
It takes a lot of pressure off you as a character. Don't look at your sheet and say, well, I want to do this. What are my stats? What can I do? Just think of your character as a whole person. Like, I walk into this room, my character sees there's 4 people at a table, one of them's drunk. I want to go steal his coin purse. That's what I want to do. And don't look at your character and say, well, I have a +3 to stealth. I want to sneak up, and I have a +2 to sleight of hand. I want to try to steal his coin purse. So you want to just say, I want to do these things, and let your dungeon master tell you what you need to roll and how you need to proceed.
Right.
I think it's what Burke was getting at. So,
yes. That was sorry. I was getting. Also, I need to get out and get ready for my subscriber stream at 12. So thank you so much, seriously, for having me. And Mark, I'll see you around later, man.
Yep.
But, man. Well, yeah.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Good.
Yeah. So like what I wanted to say though is that it's what you guys are describing. It sounds like in Magic. Yes, I'm going to go back to that because it is the
That's
thing
fine.
I think is closest at least that can
Yeah.
help
all good,
help
man.
bridge the gap. What you know and what I know is that in Magic they have the rule of can't beats can't. So basically, as long as you think that you can do it and it works within the rules, and there's nothing that says you can't do it, you can do it. So that's what it kind of sounds like to me, which is kind of a hard concept for people to get down. But once they actually do it a couple times, they get, oh, okay. So as long as it doesn't explicitly say I can't do this,
Right.
I can actually do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Or,
okay.
or
So
you can at least try to do it. Yeah. And that's you can try to do whatever you want. And that's the beauty of it. And you guys will sort of get used to that. Your DM will get used to that. Like it takes a lot to sort of let go and be like, look, it doesn't say I can't do it, so I can do it. And even some of the things you said you can't do, you can still try. You know, it's just the biggest constraints are during combat, where during combat you do have a hard and fast action economy.
Right.
That's the biggest learning the learning stumbling block to learning the game is combat. The rest of the stuff, it's just think about what you want to do, and just ask them. Ask if you can do it.
Okay.
Yep.
It actually brings me to another question about combat, because I know that is one of the most rigid parts of the game. And I was thinking that what we could try and do is actually have you have that hexagon board and whatnot. And I want to try to talk to the DM about making something that's clear enough, but not too overcomplicated that people get kind of like lost because of all the minutia with it. So my idea was that we would have a hexagon board, and we'd have different basically poker chips or something along that size, representing both the good guys and each character respectively based on a color. Do you think that's simple enough, or is it too simple? Or
sure.
what do you think should be on that kind of a board?
It can be something as simple as that. Are you guys playing in person, or are you playing online?
Online, so we probably set up some kind of camera system and whatnot. I need to talk to DM about all this because I'm just trying to figure this out before we start to talk more about what we want to do.
Also, this is something else that we can talk about in the Discord, but there's a lot of virtual tabletops. So some of them are very simple. Oh, very simple.
Awesome.
The one that we use for our game is called Owlbear. Owlbear Rodeo.
It's in the chat right now. I see that. Yeah, Owlbear Rodeo. Awesome.
Yeah, it is extreme. Yep, Lisa turned me on to it. A lot of them are. Some of them are really obtrusive and they're really intimidating. But Owlbear is as simple as squares and little tokens.
Okay.
And it is fantastic. And any of us here can give you a primer. If you want to talk to me, we can get together and I can show you how it works. But it's real simple.
That would be great.
And yes, that keeps. It even has units of measure on there. So, of course, you can move. The standard people can move 30 feet in combat. Each square is 5 foot. And they even have little little rulers on there that'll show you how far you can go on the board. It is extremely simple. That's great. Easy to use, and it'll help you out tremendously. Yep. Yes.
Cool. Awesome. I figured there might be some resources out there like that, but like I said, first time really jumping in, I was just going. Yeah, I was looking for people to ask exactly what should I use? What do you recommend? Because I can do a Google search, but that doesn't exactly give me, what's the best for newer players to figure out.
Sure.
So knowing about Owlbear now is great for making a simple I said a virtual board so everyone can watch it on someone's computer or whatever. Cool.
And awesome. Owlbear, once you get into it a little bit more, you can actually share audio through Owlbear. So, if you're listening to music, you can share it. So it can get a little bit more involved, but Owlbear is great for beginners, and be happy to help you with it, setting it up, and give you a little tutorial and stuff. So, yep. And
awesome, great, yeah. So I think the next step then, of course, is talk to my DM because he's waiting for some books to get to him so we can start doing this stuff, which will be after the new year, and then. Yeah, I would definitely love to get back in touch with you and talk to you guys in the Discord about what I want to make sure that it goes smoothly, and I also want to make sure I know what's going on too, so I don't come into it without I want to make sure it's enjoyable.
Yeah,
as I said, after my first session, I want to be almost the exact opposite of it as much as possible.
Yeah. Well, it'll take a little bit of time. Don't put too much pressure on yourselves. Okay. It's going to be clunky at first. I mean, I've been playing since '83, and my first couple sessions are always clunky. It just takes a lot, but don't get discouraged. And if you join the Discord, anybody in there will be happy to help. We all have ears, and we love talking about this stuff. Don't be afraid to ask any questions that you have. and we can video chat, we can whatever you need. And as far as resources go, we all have like a whole bunch of books, PDFs, whatever you need is on the Discord or within arm's reach, and we'd be happy to have you. I'm like, personally, I thank you for this. I'm really happy to hear that you're getting into it and with your friends and your DMs and like whatever we can do to help. Like, welcome, man. It is a wonderful hobby, and I'm glad you guys are doing it. I
appreciate it. And I have just one more small question.
Sure.
I think I know the answer, but I want you to give me an idea. Let me go check our channel and see what they said. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9. We have eight players that will be playing the game in one DM. Do you think that would be too much for like a first game, or do you think we can make it work?
My honest opinion, it should probably be half of that for the first time.
Oh, okay, cool. All right,
I mean, that's just my honest opinion.
Right.
8, I wouldn't do 8 at this point. 8 is too much. You're not gonna get enough stuff done in combat. People are gonna be talking over each other. I think 4 max for starting off.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, like
then I will talk to Dean about that part.
Yeah, Wells brings up a good point. Split it, do alternate weeks or different nights. But definitely, 8 is gonna be absolute chaos. It's gonna be
because bring it back to MTG again. Like when we play EDH, we usually play a free for all where everyone you can attack anybody you want or whatever. And then when it goes above 4, it becomes such a goddamn slog because like some players are slower, some are newer, some are more experienced, and things can either happen too fast or even too slowly that certain players are don't catch everything and whatnot. That it becomes like usually 4 players. Like an hour game is usually average.
Yeah.
Get 5 players, you're looking at 3 hours, and it's like it's like much more of like not really a time waster, but definitely more of a time sink, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, and you're gonna get people that they're so far away from their turn. People are gonna to check out. It's just gonna be so tough for 8 players. Really.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I was thinking it might be too much, and I'm glad to hear it's confirmed, so I can bring that up with the DM and find out. Like the person that said their combat will take months for basic combat. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's gonna take. It's gonna take forever for basic combat. And like I said, you guys are gonna be talking over each other for decisions just at the table. And it's gonna be I wouldn't 4 max for you guys starting out would be what I recommend. So
awesome. Okay, cool. Then I got some good notes to take back to our DM and see what we can do to please everyone as much as possible.
Hey, give your DM a link to the Discord. Have them stop in, and we'll be happy to have them talk to them and stuff too. So anything
that was part of the plan too.
Yeah,
that was part of the plan. So thanks.
No problem. I appreciate it. LA,
all right.
Is that you? I appreciate you coming by to stopping in tonight, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So I'm pretty sure you're pretty happy we didn't go into a discussion about MTG versus D&D right there.
Hey man, I said what I said. Put my foot in my mouth and look like an old man on the porch enough tonight. I concede. I'll give it up. But if you're interested in seeing my more succinct point, I do have a video on the channel. D&D has a Magic the Gathering problem. If you want to check it out, and then comment on there and
I
yell
didn't see
at me.
that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to say, I definitely have many complaints about Wizards right now because watching the game go the way it is right now, and I would say arguably downhill from where it used to be, say in the past, like say 5-10 years, I'd have to agree with you that they're definitely becoming much more corporate, which like you said, kind of takes away from the creativity and originality that used to be both in Magic and in D&D to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And there's tons I'm sure there's tons of arguments on your side that probably match up a lot with our arguments too, because of the fact that same company, Hasbro's probably pushing them to money, crossover money, and shit like that. That is starting to see the creativity kind of leave as well. Yeah,
well, like Lisa said, they are not a non-profit, so I understand the profit margins. But I think this year we'll see how it goes. This year is supposed to be pretty interesting for D&D because they did announce that they're going to bring 3 of the old settings back. So we'll see what happens. And I know Magic the Gathering had one of their best years because of the arena. So, and to be honest with you, like, I know what I don't like about Magic, but I don't know enough about Magic to comment specifically on the game itself.
Right.
So I'll leave that to the Magic Gathering guys, but I don't doubt that there's issues there as well. I'm not a huge fan of Wizards, although I'll take free stuff if they want to send it to me. So we'll just leave it there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll let other people now jump in because I'm gonna go check out Burke's stuff right now. But
Yep.
it was great talking with you.
It was great talking with you too. It was nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm probably gonna
Yeah.
cut it here. So you'll probably be the first and only caller of the night, unless somebody has something specifically they want to say. So
Sure. Please let anyone come in. I'm gonna jump over to Burke's now. Nice talking with you.
nice talking with you too. Take it easy. So
All right. Bye.
bye. Oh. All right, ladies and gentlemen, unless anybody else wants to jump on and tell me how old I am or how out of touch I am with Magic the Gathering, I'm going to call it Here's a Skinny. Jason played Magic the Gathering at his local gaming shop, lost, flipped the table, and was banned from the shop. Now he goes to the one across town. I mean, you talked to my mom, didn't you? My mom gave you the skinny. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to call it for tonight. We're closing on 2 hours. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Lisa, Wells, Tyler, Burke. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, Burke. Everybody, make sure you check out Burke's stream, the 24-hour stream he's got coming up. Check out Burke the Nerd on Twitch. Gray, thanks for coming. My favorite daughter, Cecilia, nice to see you. Let's see, Everyday Geeks, Waffle Duck, Mark D. I know there's people back in here that I'm going to miss, but I really had a lot of fun tonight. It's good to see all the news people. Don't forget, we're going to have, I've mentioned it 3 times before, we're going to do our 24-hour stream coming up on the 8th and the 9th. Please, if anybody wants to be a part of that, there's still plenty of time. We also have Beat Bobby Slay coming up Wednesday after that. Be on the lookout for that. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you all for coming out. It has been fantastic. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's to everybody. And remember, in the game of life, may you always roll with advantage. And I'll catch y'all in the next stream.